All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Replit live stream here. We're going to go deep today. We're still exploring this mobile app Buildathon, and we're approaching the end of our 3-week kind of process here. So we're going to go through kind of the last little phases of what you need to do and what you need to think about before publishing your app. I've got Manny in studio. What's up, Manny? How you doing today?
What's up, Rymar? Good to be here. Exciting. Yeah, I mean, people have been asking us a lot about this final step of getting the app in the App Store, which is surprisingly starting to become the hardest part of building and shipping your application, which is really interesting and really cool. The fact that the technical part of building out the application and getting your mobile app and testing it, like that is all getting streamlined by Replit. But, you know, of course, we wanted to get it in the App Store. And so excited to be covering this today.
Yeah. And hey, Manny, maybe in the I don't know what's going on, but I couldn't switch to the screen here. So I'm trying to switch views. Oh, that did something. But maybe we can try this one and get both of us in here. Let's try this. Okay, there we go. All right, a little game time shift. Okay, so let's jump into this. We've been doing this mobile app Buildathon for the last 3 weeks. We have hundreds of folks in the back that are in the Discord that have kind of been building along with us. We've done a handful of showcases. So I kind of want to walk you through this process. I'm going to take you through the updates that we've made to the application. And then we're going to walk through some of the process of publishing the application and just kind of going through the different assets and things you need to think about before submitting your app to the App Store. So let's kind of take it from the top here. So we've been doing this mobile Buildathon. If you're not registered, you should do that. Let me do this over here one sec. So you can go to mobile-buildathon.replit.app. There's still time. The applications need to be in by this Friday at midnight, Eastern time. I believe it's Eastern time, but I could be wrong. Check the official rules. Don't wait till the last minute, right? Before we were telling you that you should kind of not submit your app super early because you want to refine and polish and do whatever. Well, we're at the point now where you should be submitting your apps. And so this week, tomorrow we're going to have another session. So if you want some last minute feedback, last week we had a hangout in Discord where we spent a couple hours just going through all the different applications folks had built and submitted, and we're kind of looking for feedback. And so we loaded up the Expo links. We literally started reviewing things on the phone, and folks got a lot of really good feedback. We're going to do a similar session with that tomorrow. And then by then, you should really be thinking about making your final submissions both to the App Store as well as to the mobile Buildathon in case you need to make any tweaks, in case there's any issues. That way you can get that cleaned up by the end of the week, because by Friday, we're going to start reviewing these things. right? And so that's just kind of the core timeline from the actual Buildathon. I know the folks internally are really excited to start looking at what y'all have built. And so this week, we're really looking for lots of social engagement. We want you to start sharing the things that you're posting about. We've got some incentives for folks that are doing that inside of the Discord. We're going to open that up. I think we ran through the first 50 that we did initially, and so we'll be doing more. So anything you can do on social to share your app, to get feedback, to share your experience about the process, we'd love to hear all that on socials and whatever channels you're on.
Also,
online.
the link is in the comments. It's the pinned comment on YouTube. I put it on X. I'm going to put it on LinkedIn. So sign up. And if you're thinking you don't have enough time, you got to think twice, because one of our builders, Dan Kept, who we featured a couple weeks back, he thought he had 3 days to submit his mobile app, and he got it done in 3 days, and it was just like out of the gate, like super fast. So you can build some really cool things in a very short period of time. So it's not too late to sign up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I bet there'll be people that start today that get their app in by the end of the week, and they'll be competitive. Don't underestimate the amount of time you'll need to kind of organize your resources. And so we'll talk a little bit about that today. And so here's kind of the process of what we've been doing with this Buildathon is idea to App Store and Replit. So this has kind of been our process here. And so let's take you through week one. We kind of started thinking about what we were going to create. And what we created was this little Tinder style tool for exploring Google Places API data. If you've been with us, this has kind of been a little bit of an adventure. Didn't really know what we were going to build over time, and this is kind of how the process works a lot of times when you're kind of playing in the real world. And so I built a little prototype week one. I took it out, and we met with some folks in my community and kind of shared it with a couple friends, other people over the course between week one and week two. Week two, we started to kind of refine this app a little bit. And we came up with this idea that we're going to like let people build these tastemaker profiles and maybe kind of build this glass door of Google Places type thing. We didn't fully get there on the last build, but we did make a bunch of cool little updates to the app. If you've been tracking along, let's go here and we can kind of walk you through. So in week two, we made a bunch of refinements to the app. So that's what I'm going to share a little bit now. If you're not, again, what we've been building is this little tool that lets me explore based on my location. I can expand or reduce my search radius. I can say, let's say I want to explore parks that are close to me, and I can apply those filters, and we'll see here that it'll start kind of pulling in all the different parks that might be around me. As I'm swiping here, this is putting things on my favorites list, my save list, and then I can move things from my saved to fave to rave. And the idea is that I have 3 different tiers of things I want to save. I can also create sessions here. And these sessions are places where I can swipe and explore with other friends, and these are tied to locations. So the filters and whatever's set here is applied to the session, and if other people are with me in the session, we're all swiping in the same data. We've got this cool map that we can now explore our session data and our saved locations. And even when we click into here, I have the ability now to see an activity feed, which is not fully baked out yet, reviews, which are coming from Google, and then the location details. And then additionally, I can see my status of what I have this location. And I also added the ability last week. Let's go back to Discover. I need to go, oh, you know what? I don't have a way to get back to my solo session. Well, this is maybe what we need to do a little quick refinement here, because I just made an update before the show and I realized I just got rid of my place in the UI. So we'll get into a build here in a second. But that's kind of the gist of the app here, right? I've got these sessions that I can explore. I can create new sessions. I can invite people to an existing session. We can explore places together. And I can now start to think about leaving reviews and activities, posting updates from the location. And so what we talked about last week was turning this into like a little bit of a social network, which was kind of cool. And so I wanted to show you that I could do that. Let me clear my location, use my current location. Let's look for wine. Let's see if we can get this thing to show up. Let's just go for wine search. Maybe it's, because it's looking for a location, not a tag. So I need to go here. We need to go Sarasota.
As you're doing that, I'll just
Yep.
remind folks that all of our streams are on YouTube. So you just have to go to our YouTube channel, go to the live segment, and then you'll see all of our most recent streams.
Yeah. Okay, so I got two issues we got to handle here. So let's do this. I got two quick issues we got to handle because I can see here I can't navigate to accept these filters, and I can't go to my. So before we get into, let's just send a prompt real quick, and then what we're going to do is we're going to jump into some of the resources you're going to need. If you're out watching right now, let us know what questions you have about publishing to the App Store. We're going to spend a majority of this stream just kind of answering your questions about publishing to the App Store, walking through the Apple documentation, walking through the back end here, because in a second, we're actually going to publish this app. So I'm going to make these last couple refinements here, and we're going to actually publish this into the App Store. But if you're out there and you're watching and you've had, if you've been following along, do two things. First, share your biggest tip, for publishing, kind of what your biggest unlock has been as you've been building with mobile apps. And second, any question you might have about publishing in the App Store or the process. And let's see if we can't get all the the crowd knowledge here to answer as many questions as possible. So let me go to the Tastemakers app here. I'm going to start a new chat here, and we're going to just fix our sessions problem. Okay, when I switch sessions here and I end up on the sessions page, there's no way for me to load my Explore or solo mode. I can only pick between the different sessions. At the top of the sessions tab, we need to by default have an option for the user to enter solo/explore mode. We got rid of this when we unified our session select dropdown. Okay, so if you're new to the show, what we're doing here is chatting with the agent. Let me go ahead and give this a couple command pluses to zoom in on the screen here. I'm using Whisperflow to chat with the agent, so I chat directly to the agent. And then what I want to do here is I'm just going to send it. So typically, we might plan some of this stuff out, or if you've been with us in the past, we'll often ask to kind of, I ask the agent to confirm that I'm approaching this the right way, or that I'm not skipping something. And so sometimes you want to plan things out. You might use plan mode. We talked about that in a lot of the other streams. And then build mode is just going to jump right in and start building things. So if you're hanging out with us new to the show, we're always live with the agent in the background and then answering community questions as we go through the stream. So yeah, let's see what it's going to come back with here. Set active session, handles no values. Okay. So basically, we had this functionality in there before, and I literally removed it about an hour ago when I was trying to kind of unify a few things before the show. And maybe you guys have done some of this. Maybe while you're building and you're actively like making changes to stuff. Something happens or you remove a little something that you don't realize that you did that, and you need to go back and update or edit that. Manny, do you have any tips and tricks for how you deal with little regressions like that or little oversights that you make sometimes while you're building? Have you ever done that?
Yeah. Are you referring to changes that I have to make on the app, or changes that I have to make after I submit to the App Store?
No, like for instance, I was editing something and I made a change to the application here. You see like before, so I should be able to explore this in solo mode. You can see, or I can be in a session, and I had a different UI, and so I combined UIs. I had like one element up here up top in the app. You see where it says solo in the top left. That was a drop down before. And what I did was I told it to unify it to this other sessions tab, because I had kind of two buttons doing the same thing, but I had two different UIs to do the same thing. And so when I told it to combine it, a little piece of the one I didn't bring over into the other view, which was this solo/explorer view. And so I wonder if you have a good tip or a trick or a thing that you think about, because I often make little oversights like that and I just don't even think about it until I go to use the feature that I removed, and I'm like, oh shit, I removed that little piece of the UI or something,
Yeah, so I usually have two tactics here. One, there's two. Like if it's a major change that I want to go back to, I'll just use the rollback and go back to that. But I feel like it's a little bit heavy.
Yep.
And so oftentimes I'll just ask agents to undo what I just asked agent to do. And because it has enough context, it typically does a pretty good job of making those easy changes. Otherwise, I might just jump into fast mode and ask agent to make the change. But I think the way I think about it is is it a major, is it completely off in terms of what I wanted? Okay, roll back. If not, then I'll just ask agents to undo it, so I don't have to like go to a different session.
Yeah.
Those are sort of the two options.
Yeah, and I usually catch them pretty quick because I think, and we talked about this last week when we talked about, like last week we dove really deep into like the nuances of refining the application, right? And one of the things I said during that stream was that the best way to refine the application is just kind of become an obsessed user, right? And you have to be kind of doing quality assurance and stuff. And so usually I catch this stuff pretty quickly. And it's probably been a half hour, 45 minutes since I did it because I was literally just trying to tighten that up before the show. So I usually catch that before. But yeah, I guess rolling back or, using and testing the application. And this is why this is pretty important in the just general development process. There's always like a testing and a QA phase before you move into the next phase of your like feature development, right? So you should never just like develop a feature and then the agent says, oh, we're done. And then you're like, great, we're done. And then you just start building the next feature. You should always test not just that feature, but the other functionality of your application to make sure that you didn't have a regression or that you didn't, a regression is something like that used to work no longer works, right? And so you're regressing in the functionality of the app. And so user testing and quality assurance is a big part of the software development process. And that means that when the agent finishes a feature, you need to kind of go through and test this stuff. You could also create tests in the code. So you could write unit tests, which will test some of the functionality. And this is a little bit more advanced software development strategy, but you can have kind of automated tests that do some of this stuff. But nothing really beats you opening this up on your phone, clicking through, touching, and making sure that like that little piece of your UI is not missing because of a small oversight like that. And this is the more complex your app becomes, the more features there are to test, the more difficult this becomes. There are entire roles of folks that do QA and testing inside of applications like this just to make sure these things don't happen and that all these updates that you make actually work inside of the application. So
that's a great call out, Raimar. I think, we should, that's one of the things that I think about early on in my project is how am I going to quality control these changes as we go? And sometimes it's not straightforward. Like sometimes, for example, you'll have workflows that have many sequential steps. So like A happens and B happens and C happens and D happens. So you can't quickly jump into part D of that workflow to test if everything works out. So if I had to work out different ways of doing that, like different routes that I would set up so I can go directly to say like node D in that workflow, see if it's still working. I would have agent write up different unit tests and specifically tailored at like targeting those different workflows. So I think, it is a really good tip to think, clearly about how you're going to do quality control because you caught this error just now. And I don't think you made any other changes to the app. The worst case scenario is that you catch it the next day and then you have to go think back like, okay, where did this error pop up? You have to like roll back everything or try to make that slight like surgical fix. And I've been there. That's super painful. But yes, like thinking about quality control is a majorly good tip.
Well, and we talked about this a little bit last time too, that the reason you want to start new chats is to kind of compartmentalize those feature updates and edits and why you shouldn't be working on like two things. For instance, in this edit here, if I'm working on things to do with the map, I shouldn't be working on things to do with my favorite screen. And I shouldn't be working on features kind of cross-cutting like that simultaneously for the exact reason you just mentioned, that if I need to then roll back later and I just like made this quick little update to some screen that, I thought was trivial, if I then end up rolling back that feature, I end up rolling back these little ancillary updates too. And then next time I go back to my app, I'm like, oh, what happened? I made this change already. Well, you made that change, but you made it as part of this other feature update that when you rolled back, you undid, right? And so sometimes, and I've done this myself where I think like, yo, I did this, what happened, right? And it's that, oh, I rolled back beyond the point. So I made the feature request, like you said, Manny, and I didn't really realize what was going wrong. And then a day or two later, I realized something was off and I had already kind of made all these other updates in the process. And so if you have to roll back or undo something, it becomes more difficult. So again, that quality control, that quality assurance, that testing of the application is important to do throughout the whole process. And you kind of have to become an obsessed user, especially when you don't have like a big quality assurance team to test this stuff for you.
I think this is why it's so important to start off with things that you have a lot of interest in, or a high level of domain expertise, is because you are going to be spending a lot of time with this workflow, with this application. And so it's just easier when you have like a lot of interest in it. Either it's like a major pain point for you, or it's a problem that you really want to solve. So it helps, like when people ask me like, where do I start off, where do I start building, like I usually say like, what's interesting to you? Do you have like a hobby that you're obsessed with? Because chances are that if you're obsessed with the hobby, it's going to be easier for you to just stay with the quality control, just checking everything and like running through the app like multiple different times.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm adding a prompt here. So if we remember, where was I? I think I like had searched. I had typed in wine here. Let's see. I had put in like a custom location. Sarasota. I can't even spell my own city name. Yeah, and this is where I was, where I couldn't scroll into where I need to be. So we need to make sure that our filters view is a scrollable content element. Right now, there are times where I cannot scroll down to the apply filters button as it is cut off. And I don't know what element it's using here. It's using some kind of modal. So what I might do is I might change this filters to use a bottom sheet, right? So this is mobile app lingo. I think right now we're using a modal for our filters overlay. Can we replace this with a bottom sheet so that it comes out from the bottom and is easily scrollable and matches the rest of our kind of UI elements when we have overlay screens like this? Okay, so again, I'm just going to send this. I feel pretty confident with this that it doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. But a bottom sheet is something like if I create this new session, you see how that pops up from the bottom there and I can swipe it down. That's kind of what I want to create that unified experience here when I'm in my filters so that I can get to that button at any time. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's in this instance, it's kind of made it sticky, but I don't know if it wasn't like that before. Let me do this again. I don't think anything changed. Somebody asked something about unit testing in the comments. Can we talk more about unit testing? Unit testing is basically creating automated tests, right? Sequential testing in your code that test for certain functionality. You can ask the agent to create unit tests for you. You can also go crazy with unit tests. And so I don't think we have the bandwidth today to kind of get into the weeds on everything that has to do with unit testing. But that's something I would definitely encourage you to look into if you're, kind of an advanced user or looking to get a little deeper into this stuff, is asking the agent to create up unit tests and kind of how you need to compartmentalize those in your project so they don't muddy up the rest of your code. You want those kind of in separate folders, and you kind of want the agent to run against those tests every time you make big changes to make sure that you don't lose major functionality or that things don't break as you're moving forward.
We're getting a couple of questions on how to go from Replit/Expo Go into TestFlight into the App Store. So we're going to cover all of that. That's coming up. So definitely stay tuned.
Give me just give me just a little bit here, and we're going to do all that. And I actually wanted to talk a little bit about last week. This came up in the comments a little bit. Dev versus production. So if you look in Replit when you're in your preview mode and building with a mobile app, you're going to see this scan the QR code to grab your mobile phone and scan the QR and open the application in Expo. So if you don't have the Expo Go app downloaded, you can download that for iOS or Android here. And then you can scan this code and it will open the app inside of the Expo Go app. And that's how you test on your phone. Super seamless process. The thing you have to realize is that this QR code here is for the development environment inside of Replit. So if you scan this QR code and start sharing that with friends and you're using this for testing, and then you walk away from Replit and the development environment shuts down, this QR code will no longer load the app on your phone. So in order to avoid that, you need to publish the app itself in Replit. So you'll need to publish the app here, make it public, and then publish that app, and that will then give you another QR code, right? This will give you a separate QR code that's a production that will then stay available even if your development environment shuts down. And so this is where you can publish to production. You can test in Expo Go. You can share this link with others and they can test that. And even if your development environment changes, or if you break something in your development environment or make changes, no big deal, because that's a totally separate test environment. And so there's two, there's your development and then there's your production environments to test in Expo Go. And then Test Flight is like one layer above that. When you submit to the App Store, you push into Test Flight, you can get a Test Flight link. And that's basically a full Apple production build that you can test in exactly the same environment you're going to get when you're, basically deployed on Apple phones. And so that's the process as it relates to Apple. And I wanted to cover that development versus production, especially as it relates to the QR codes and testing inside of Replit here.
We also want to call out that you'll need an Apple developer account to submit your app to the App Store and to get it into Test Flight. And there have been some folks in the comments saying that it's actually been pretty tough. Somebody's been waiting 9 days, I think, to get their account approved. And I think it has to do with where you are in the world. Like, for example, I think this person is in Eastern Europe. So maybe there's like more stricter requirements there. So I think maybe one of the first things you want to do is submit your Apple developer account application. It's going to take a little bit long, and just know that it's going to be $99 for you to submit that. And that's just, what Apple is charging folks to be to submit apps to the store.
Well, and there is, yes, correct. And there's a wait time for getting your Apple developer account set up. And there's that $99 fee that Manny mentioned. And then there's also the first time you submit an app to Apple, it's going to take a little bit longer for the Test Flight link to be issued. When I send something, I think we'll probably get the Test Flight link like during the stream. Like by the end of the stream, we'll have the Test Flight link. That's at least been my case. But I've also submitted other apps. I've kind of had the developer account for a while. And so again, that's why you want to get ahead of some of this stuff, submitting and publishing, and you at least want to make sure you get that Test Flight link if you're participating in the Buildathon, so that you can submit or make your official submission here. One other call out that we need to make: when you're getting your Test Flight submission, when you're getting your Test Flight link, you need to allow external testing, right? You need to make sure that the Test Flight link allows for external testing. This will allow us to test your Test Flight link, right? And so when you upload and submit your Test Flight link in the back end of the portal now, it's going to check to make sure that it is available for us to test on. We were looking through some of the submissions and realizing that some of you have submitted your Test Flight links, but they're not open to external testers, which means we can't access them unless you manually add our email address. So you need to make sure in your Test Flight settings, when you create your Test Flight link or when you have your Test Flight link for sharing, that you enable external testing in those settings. Okay, let's see. So if you're watching, we got our little bottom sheet here, but what it did was it put it behind the header. So while we were just chatting there, I've told it to pull it ahead of the header so it's not behind there. We need to make sure that that doesn't get cut off at the top of the screen there. And then I think after we make this update, should we go ahead and submit this thing so that way we can just kind of walk people through that process. Let's look at some of the, if you haven't seen in this doc here, there's some other resources that may be useful for you. And if you're looking for these, if you go to livebuild.replit.app, livebuild.replit.app. This is where we kind of upload and save all the resources from these streams. And so if you click, you'll see Buildathon Week 3. We've got the video at the top. We've got the show notes in the Buildathon home here. You can always access all of our streams and recording on the YouTube channel, on the Replit YouTube channel here. And so those are always available for immediate replay after the stream ends on the live tab of the view here. But if you're also looking for the resources that come with the show, the prompts that we use, things like that, we're trying to log as much of that as we can here. So here you'll see Buildathon Week 1, and we'll talk about what we did, what we built, our opening prompt here. And then you can also see some of these resources that we have here. So you can remix the demo app that we're working on. You can check out the show notes, and then there's the Luma RSVP. But what I wanted to show you on these show notes is that there's a bunch of links that may be useful for you as you're walking through your submission process. And so we'll go through these just in here in 1 second, because I think we're we're going to just go ahead and publish this thing out. Okay. Now update the root sheets. Okay, so it's still kind of working to make sure. And what it might have been is that that filters view might have been nested inside of or behind something. So it probably needed to like extract that element and put it into a different UI. That's the only reason I'm imagining this is taken. This is one of those things you probably want to watch, right? Like this is something that right here, we need to make sure that the bottom sheet overlays the app, not under the header at any time. The Z-index for this should be over the top. And so this to me seemed like something that should have been very simple. And this is something that just from a troubleshooting, I'm going to call out here from a troubleshooting perspective when you're walking with the agent. If there's something that you think should have just been like a really quick, easy fix, and it goes down this, rabbit trail, this like longer than you expect solution, what you should do is you should review to see what it's actually doing. And I'm going to look here, and I bet my assumptions was correct. But the issue is the bottom sheet is rendering inside the screen's view container, which sits below the navigation. So it's exactly what I thought, right? Like this screen is sitting inside of another component. And so it probably had to extract the element and pull it out to put it over top. So again, no big deal. But these are the things that like you may want to check and see like, oh, what's going on here? And then when you see it do something like this, that is maybe a little more intricate or it's doing more than you thought, this is when you want to make sure you go back and you test everything else around this, right? Because if this would have just been like, oh, quick, no problem, easy fix, let me just do, and it puts it right up top, no big deal. Okay, great. I feel pretty confident that there wasn't a whole lot changed or nothing like happened here that I need to worry about. This is doing lots of stuff back here, So you can see all these different actions. You can see that it's got, it's trying to extract that component and put it into a different element. And this is something that when it's done, I'll want to just make sure I check and test and tinker. And that means applying the filters, opening it from different views, kind of going through all the different processes that thing touches to make sure that I still have the same functionality I expect across the different views because of, again, how complex this looks to be here. Manny, any comments or thoughts or questions coming in from the chat here that...
Yeah, just going back to the test flight link, KG had a good suggestion here that, the nice thing about that link is that you can also share with other folks in the community. So when you get that, go into the Discord that you get invited to after signing up for the Buildathon, drop it in there and have people test it out for you. I've also seen this on socials where somebody will say like, hey, here's my idea. Here's what I'm building. If you want to join the early beta testing cohort, let me know, DM me, and I'll send you an invite to that cohort. So it's a great way to kind of like get like people testing it and giving you feedback before you decide to go fully live.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so let me verify that there's no LSP issues now. For those of you who don't know, you may sometimes be looking in the code and see like a little red underline or something. That's what it's talking about when it has those LSP errors. It's basically looking for things in the code that are not semantically correct or are not properly connected to other pieces of the code, and it goes through and tries to fix those errors. And so it's we've talked about like code review and different things like that. The agent is kind of all automatically doing some of those things in the background for us. So okay, let me refresh the app here. So again, if you're using Expo Go on a mobile phone, you can either shake the device or tap with 3 fingers to reload the application. And what I'm going to check now is that this bottom sheet that we updated is actually doing what we want so that we can apply our filters, and then we'll publish this app. There it is. Boom. Right at the top of the page. Let's use the current, let's use a different location. Let's go to San Francisco. Actually, Manny, what city are you in? You're in Chicago, right? I'm in
Chicago, yes.
Let's go to Chicago.
A lot of good food options here, dude.
Chicago. What are we looking for? What do we want in Chicago?
You know what? I've been into. You know what I've been into? These poke bowls. Like, is it poke bowls? It's like, I don't know. It's like Asian. Like, yeah. Like rice bowls with like tuna on it. Like, I just been into those lately, and I don't know where they are. So it'd be interesting to find out where in the city.
Let's see what we get, and we'll filter specifically for restaurants. Apply filters.
Ooh.
Aloha Pokeball. Actually, you know what I want to do? Okay, so that worked. Let me start a session. Maybe I can invite you to that session, Manny.
Mm-hmm.
Let's explore. Session name, we'll call this Chicago. Chicago. We'll use our current location. No, we're going to use Chicago as a location. Okay, so Chicago. Yep, we'll select that. Search radius 5 kilometers from the core of the city, we'll call it. Restaurants, create session. All right. Manny, if you want to... Oh, you know what? I guess anybody could join. We'll see what kind of API usage we're going to get. If anybody wants to come explore Chicago with us.
So do I download the Expo Go app?
Yeah, you would need to download the Expo Go to do that.
I'm going to use my camera now. So I'm going to grab my camera and I'm going to just
scan
grab that.
Here to download.
Boom.
And and scan here on Android.
Plate match.
Then this will open up plate match. Yep, it's I've changed it to Tastemakers, but I haven't updated the whole back end yet.
And I'm just going to create a quick login here.
Yep. And then if I enter Chicago, there's my Aloha Poke Bowl. And then I should be able to see a map of Chicago. Here's all the different places that come in. I can click and kind of explore them manually if I wanted. And this might just be all locations. There you go, Aloha Poke Bowl. This might, everything that's coming back, I think this might just be coming back with restaurants. Let me make sure that the filters took... okay. I don't think the filters applied to my session. So let's apply those. Apply filters. Boom. Great. So now if I go to Discover, I should only see Poke Bowls stuff.
Can I see the session code again?
Oh, yeah. Session, Chicago. Ooh. That's a good question. How do I get back to the session code when I'm in it?
This is why we test, folks.
Aha! We found a flaw in the system. Okay. So let's tell the agent. When I'm in an active session, we need to display the session code in the active session view on our sessions tab. Right now, there's no way for me to see the session code after I'm in the active session itself. Can we make sure that it's in the list view so that I can share that with people? Okay, let me go to sessions view, and I'm going to select my, So if you're using WhisperFlow, what you'll realize is that you need to keep the cursor focused where you want the screen the text to drop. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my element selector here to pick and just to point out where I want that. Oh, you know what? It treated it like a click event. Okay, I won't use the element selector. And I will say that the element selector needs a little bit of work on mobile, but they know that. We know that. We're working on it. It works on the web view much better, but there's some things on mobile where the element selector is not as fine-grained on mobile as it is on the desktop stuff, on the web app stuff. So
as that's cooking, Raimar, folks are asking, how much do you think you've, how much has this app cost so far? Would you estimate?
This app probably has cost $200-300. Honestly, you guys have seen me build most of it. We built most of it on day one, week one session. So you can go back and watch kind of how we got to the beginning of it. Last week, we talked about how to make it better and kind of think about some of the social interactive aspects of it. And then after the stream, we went pretty hard last week. So we spent about 2 hours during the stream and then another hour after the stream to kind of build some of the refinements. And then I've maybe spent another hour or two outside of the stream just kind of tweaking and refining some of this stuff. So I'd be surprised if I'm more than $200-250 into the app. Where I messed up a little bit and spent more than I expected was in the API here, because initially I was fetching new API data all the times and I exceeded my quota from Google Places API. And so I've gotten a cap on that. We'll see how much I spend, or if I spend, if other people, because I see other people have now joined Chicago. So at least one other person is in Chicago, but it's 0DJIWT if you want to explore Chicago with us. And actually, yeah, start swiping right on stuff, because I'm going to just swipe right on everything and see if I get a match from anybody.
Can I see that code one more time?
What is it? Oh, the code?
Yep. Code one more time. I was like
0DJIWT.
JIWT. Join session. Hey, I'm in. Cool. We have some other folks here.
Let's see.
Also,
does the $250 including Apple Maps API cost? I didn't have to set up any kind of Apple Map API. I've not spent any money on Apple Maps.
but for the
Maybe
Google
that's an
API,
oversight on my side, but I don't. The Maps is just accessing the local Apple React Native map element here and overlaying on top of it. So I'm not actually accessing or using any Apple Maps data here. I'm just kind of overlaying on top of that experience. And so I haven't had any issues with that. Not sure if that's something that other folks have.
but you are using the Google Places API.
The Google Places
right?
API, yes. That
then
for sure
what
I have had
percentage-
cost.
It says $300 for the build, including
that I
the
spent
Google-
that I spent another couple $100 on that because I didn't realize what was happening, and literally as I'm testing, every time I was testing, I was just like burning through, and so like I made, I don't know, 40, 50,000 API requests while testing this app, just playing with it, and not just on this because the idea for this app came about because I built a second app like when I first started playing with mobile apps. So all in all, because I probably spent a couple $100 playing and experimenting and testing with that one too. So, but again, all in all, if I'm in for 500 or $1,000 or whatever it is to get something like this built, including development costs, testing, API usage, all that stuff, like it's just, I mean, it's unreal.
But it's better than $150,000. And if you caught our show on Friday, we had somebody from the community at Fane, who is building Forage Fiends. I got it wrong originally. I called it Forage Friends. I was so embarrassed about that. Forage Fiends. And she's been building apps for a while. And she, a year ago, she had a friend where they charged them $150,000 to build out a simple mobile app. So like $300, $400 is like so cheap in comparison to that. And if you follow me on X, like there's a bunch of people jumping into that thread where I quoted at Queen on that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, oh my gosh, like would have cost me $300,000. I built in Replit for $500, $1,000." So when you put it in that context, like just dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Quick question, Reimar. So how do I accept or how do I favorite or like a place?
Okay, so here's the game, right? So once you join the session, you'll put your code in there, and then to like a place, you just swipe to the right. If you want to unlike a place, you swipe to the left. And then in your favorites, you'll see a list of all the different places you've swiped. So like, let's go here and let's say I want to swipe right on this first one, and I go to my favorites. I'll see that now at the top of my favorites list.
Got it. Okay, cool. So I just see, this is what we test. It would be helpful for you to have that on the display. Like swipe here to like, swipe this way to discard, because I had to it was a little unintuitive there.
Yeah.
And I didn't date in this generation, so I don't have the Tinder thing. So I have no frame of reference for this. So maybe that's why I'm asking these dumb questions.
I hear that. I think probably, like a little opening interaction. Let's do that. Let's maybe add that. Like that'd be a nice little, oh, there's a match. Hey, y'all, somebody liked this. So that's just to show that it works, right? So somebody's in there swiping. Thank you all for swiping because you gave me a little match. I can keep swiping here. And what's cool is now if I go into my favorites, I can see that I have Hot Works Cool Sushi, right? It's marked. And then I can see my matches. And here's the Aloha Poke Co. I think that's the one we just matched on. Right, and it gives me the details. Again, I've got an activity view, which we're going to wire up at some point, this whole social layer to this. And then the reviews are coming in from Google Maps, and this place doesn't have a whole lot of great reviews. So I can favorite here. I can also remove this from my favorites or from my likes. Yeah.
Great comment here. Chris said he just talked to a client. He quoted him $1,000, and the client was amazed because other quotes that he was getting was like $23,000 for the same app. Just to give you a sense of the cost comparison there.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, please go out there and sell you some apps, y'all. Let me throw you a little disclaimer. Let me holler at you real quick for a minute, okay? Be real careful when you start competing against people who know what they're doing in this space, okay? Don't just go out there and tell people like, I can build it for you. We can do that. Yes, no problem. Sure. Don't worry about $50,000 for an app. Come build it with me for $5,000. Listen, I know it's very appealing. It's very exciting to go out there and be like the enterprising person who can now build mobile apps for people. There are lots of things that you can do with native mobile apps that you may not know how to figure out, right? There are a lot of expectations people have for things that the app should do that when you start charging people money for, they just expect that you know how to do, that maybe you're not quite sure how to do yet, right? And so make sure that your ambition doesn't always exceed your technical skill set by too much. Your ambition should always exceed it by a little bit, but finding the balance for how much, because you want to like be able to push yourself and kind of learn new skills and try new things. And like, that's how you do that, is by getting people to, pay you to do this stuff. But just be very careful if you're going to compete with somebody who has a quote for $100,000 for an app and you're pitching them $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever for your version of it. Just make sure you have the scope properly outlined. Make sure that you are not getting yourself into a position where you're going to have to refund somebody their money, or find yourself in some legal issues or in some hot water, or not being able to deliver what the client expects. This is a very common thing in the no-code days, as I saw as people started like building all these little automations and stuff. They think they could build a web app. They sell something to the client. Maybe you can build what you sell, but then the client, what they really wanted was way up here, and now the client gets mad at you because the thing you built can't transition into that, or you didn't fully account for all of the scope or what they were looking for, or the next phase of what they were doing, or whatever. So just be very careful when you go out and start competing in the real market for this stuff, because building here for fun, mobile build-a-thon, building for friends, no big deal, not a lot of pressure. You take a 5-figure check from somebody to deliver a mobile app, you will find yourself in the courthouse, So like, just full disclaimer.
And I think it would be interesting to have folks like Chris on the show. And it's like, hey, Chris, tell us about your background. Because, what you'll find is usually these folks have a technical background. And so they know what they can deliver. Actually, that's a big benefit of like getting in here and understanding the code. Like, you start getting an intuition for what is feasible and what you can promise. And then also, I'm sure Chris has like different mechanisms in place to guard against scope creep, which is always going to come up. Like, if you've sold any type of software, like that first prototype, there's always something to add to it. Changes. Yep. So how do you protect your downside on that, your cost side on that? So yeah, Chris, feel free to drop your tips in the chat, and maybe we'll have folks like Chris on the show to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. Hey, look, we're just finding matches. Sushi, y'all gonna eat through my my Google APIs. You know what? I'd be more than happy to eat a major bill if there was like a ton of people that just exploring local areas in this app here and doing some user testing. I saw there's let's say +5, so there's 8 or so folks in the Chicago session, which and who knows how many others have downloaded this or are exploring locally. I'd love to hear your feedback on the app, clicking, exploring safe places, changing status between favorites, save, fave, rave, which was again a concept we came up with last week. But let's go ahead. Should we publish this? Let's go ahead and publish this thing and send it to the App Store, huh?
Let's do it.
All right. Tastemakers. Let's see. Oh, how dare you?
Already taken, huh?
How dare you? Somebody beat me to it. Tastemakers app. Okay. So real easy. You saw, right? The publishing process starts, if you're going to publish the App Store, the publishing starts in Replit. You just make sure you publish for the first time the app itself. And you got to set, oh, you know what I didn't check? It should have happened automatically, but make sure it's the right type of deployment. I should have looked to see the deployment type. I think it happens automatically for mobile.
If you had the preview, the bezel preview, I think it's pretty safe that you have a mobile build.
It put it on auto scale, which is not what I want.
So the deployment type, gotcha.
Yep. So I'm going to cancel this actually.
And can you talk a little bit about why you don't want auto scale? I think it's for folks.
Yep. So here's what I just caught while this is happening. So public, production, publish, port configuration. Where's my, hang on, am I missing this?
I wonder if
manage.
Let
me shut it down because it still thinks. Let me unpublish because I had a publication before. Okay, so let's do this. Tastemakers app. Okay, public. And adjust settings. Here's where we go. This is what I wanted to get to. Okay. So I guess I don't really need this to be I guess we don't need it to be a reserve VM. But I'm going to set it as a reserve VM, as a reserve virtual machine, because I kind of want this app to always be on. There's some real-time functionality here. There's some things that I want. I don't want this to spin up when people are using it, which is what auto scale does, right? So let me take you through the different ways here. The static pages, this is just gonna a flat file. This is like if you're serving a website, right? You just want to serve a flat file. There's no interactivity. There's no backend. There's no logic. There's no real kind of compute happening. We're just serving up HTML, CSS, maybe a little bit of JavaScript. It's out there. It's a flat file. No big deal. You need a static page. Auto scale is what you're going to use for most of your instances. What this is going to do is this is going to publish the website. And then as people interact with the site, it'll scale automatically. It's kind of in the name. But what this also means is that when people are not on the website, it will shut down the server a little bit, which means the first person to come back might have a little bit of latency as that spools back up as the server starts running again. It is the most affordable and economic value here, and then it will continue to scale based on your needs. So if you're going viral, if you get a bunch of traffic, whatever, this will kind of scale with you, and you can set how many computers you want to allow this to scale up to. And then the reserved VM, right? So this is the reserved virtual machine. You're basically saying, I want this compute to always be available, right? Like, I don't want this to shut down. Even if someone doesn't come to my app for hours or days at a time, I want you to just keep running this. This is important if you have processes running in the background, if you have services that are connected to this. Let's say webhooks need to be received, or something on the back end of your server needs to be awake all the time to process, right? And so you may have services or cron jobs or things running in the background that, if the auto scale server's turned off, may not get triggered. And so again, you know that's why I wanted to come check here. And then again here, you can pick how much RAM and server capacity do you want to give this thing based on what you think your scale will be. The thing to think about here is if you pick a reserved virtual machine, a reserved VM, and you go viral, you may not get enough capacity to scale or meet that demand, right? And so you may then need to, adjust this on the fly or whatever. So just some things to think about. There's different, and you can even, there's more, you can get into the weeds inside of some of this stuff. But yeah.
And for me, like the big thing is like, am I okay with a bit of a delay for some of those early users?
Correct.
And then B, like if I go reserved VM, then am I okay with the flat fee hitting my account every month? Because a reserved VM is just like flat $20, $40 every month, no matter what usage. The computer's always on.
Yep.
So just some things to consider as you're changing things. And then the nice thing is you can always go back here and, as Reimar did, just change the deployment type if you feel like it wasn't the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a note, you will have to shut down your deployment to do that. So that can be, depending on what you have connected to that deployment, that can be a chore. It can be a couple minutes. It can be, a little bit more in depth, depending on kind of what you have configured here. But let's go ahead and click that publish button. And that's a good call out, Manny, that reserved VM is just going to be like a fixed fee every time. Whereas the auto scale, you may pay nothing, right? Or you just pay a couple bucks based on the actual usage, that the app incurred while published. Okay. Autoscale not good for app with push notifications. I think not. Screen is too blur. Likely your internet. YouTube sometimes just throttles the bandwidth here, guys. There's not a whole lot we can do about that. Sorry. Any tips for student using Replit? Yeah. Use Replit more than your peers. Find ways to outcompete them all.
I would say find what are you interested in? Go out and talk to those folks and vibe code applications for them.
Yeah.
Like that to me is like the winning combination. Like I've spoken to a couple of folks that have made big career shifts, and the way they've done that is just talking to the leadership saying, hey, I vibe coded this app for your business. I don't know too much about your business, but this is what I did. And like, boom, right away, just streamline to the front of the line. There is such a hunger for vibe coders. If you can demonstrate that and show that to folks, that's like a killer advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Somebody in here is salty in the comments. I'm not sure what that was about, but what was this saying? Imagine I'm offering to help and everyone ignores me as CEO. I'm sorry. I'm not. It's just we don't see all the comments. So Don't take it personally. We do check all those comments, and we're scraping them in real time. But if we don't get you to comment, it's nothing personal, guys. There's just a lot of comments coming in real time, and we try to kind of triage those as best we can. What we're waiting for right now is for this to bundle up and publish. But if you have thoughts or comments about publishing a mobile app, if you have questions about publishing a mobile app, if you have some insights that you'd like to share, yeah, leave those in the comments. We'll do our best to kind of get to those as we're going through here.
And as we're doing that, we can look ahead and just kind of explain the different steps here. So first is we're going to deploy the app on Replit. Then we're going to deploy the app to the Apple ecosystem. And that's going to be leveraging our new Expo integration that bundles our application and sends it over to the Apple ecosystem. And that's been a real help for folks because historically that's been pretty tough. Now I know we've got some questions around Android Play Store support. So what you're going to see coming up next is the one-click deployment for the App Store, and we're working on making that available for the Play Store as well. That said, there is still a manual way for you to take your app and put it into the Android Play Store. I think some folks have documented that, but I know there have been folks that have already gone and have done it manually. So you can still do it because we're using Expo under the hood to package everything up, which means that it'll work for iOS and it'll also work for Android. It's just that we don't have that one-click porting over into the Android Play Store like we have for the Apple App Store.
Yep. Okay, so once you've published in Replit, right, then you're going to see this ready to publish to the App Store. And again, what Manny just pointed out is that this is a process for, again, the Apple App Store. The Android, you would have to batch export your files here. And then there's a separate process for going back into the Apple Play Store. I don't know how that is fully packaged up. And then it's a manual upload. I'm not familiar with that process. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. So I'm sorry, we're not going to answer more questions on some of that. I just don't, that's not my skill set right now. But you can do it. The code is there available. You can export the code. There's a manual upload. We're going to walk through the App Store process here.
As that's loading up, great comment here from Reese Gordon. Do we see a future where this elevates to the enterprise level? Absolutely, and it's happening now. We're getting a lot of inbound interest from enterprises. I think the last year it's been mostly solopreneurs and small businesses jumping on the vibe coding bandwagon, but more and more large organizations and enterprises are seeing what is possible with vibe coding. And Replit has actually spent a lot of time building out the infrastructure and the functionality to make this work within enterprise. We actually have a full enterprise account plan. We don't talk about it too much on the streams because we don't have too many folks. I think that would fall into that category here. But we have an enterprise. We have the Teams plan that you can tap into, but then we also have an enterprise plan as well. And a lot of enterprises are starting to use Replit. Really excited about that.
Yep. Okay, so when you go into this launch pane, you're going to see this little Expo launch screen load up here, right? You can choose an existing Expo project if you want. We're going to create a new one here. So I'm calling it Tastemakers, which is the name of the app. You're going to see it creates a project slug. We'll go ahead and continue this. What I need to make sure is, am I going to dox myself here logging into this? Let's do something real quick, Manny. Let me just go to a different view here for 1 second while I auth this. I just don't know what's going to show up on the screen.
No problem.
This is my Apple ID, so.
No, just give a quick shout out to Chris. Makes sense. He's been fielding a lot of questions in terms of how he's selling Replit apps. Great tips there, Chris. Thank you.
Okay. So we're back. We're going to sign in. All right. It sent me some kind of code here. Ooh, child. Damn, I'm going to dox everything. Hold up. Oh, okay. This is this has happened before where I had to go to other methods and do a two-factor with my phone. There it goes. Now I've got the code. Okay. Let me come back to this view. Sorry, guys, not trying to ice anybody out here. I'm just not trying to reveal my life secrets or have to go through a big security process here if I expose this stuff on a live stream.
And it's really tough to edit this stuff out and post. So thank you.
Okay, great. Choose Apple app. Select or create an app on the App Store. So again, you can use an existing, or we're going to create a new app, right? So this is where you're checking the name and the bundle identifier, app.replit. So this is different than your tastemakers app.replit.app, right? This is a different URL. So this is a bundle identifier. This is something that's unique to the app itself. This is not something that can be changed. This is like an Apple specific thing here, right? I'm going to create the app. One thing that's probably going to get skipped here, because I've already done this, is the certificate. So let's see what happens next, but it's basically creating the process here and getting, let's just go full screen here. And there we go. No distribution certificates found. Okay, Apple uses distribution certificates and provisioning profiles to publish your apps securely. Launch automatically selects valid certificates for profiles. Let's create a new certificate. Reach the maximum amount of active distribution. Oh no. Oh no. Manually configure existing distribution. Remove one distribution. Yeah, let's do that.
This is interesting. Like it's so you can only have so many apps via.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if I've exceeded my.
I wonder if it's certificates per app.
I wonder. Yeah. Well, let's see. Two-factor auth.
As you're doing that, a couple of other questions from the chat here. Yes. So when we get to Apple Store Connect, that's where you're going to fill out all of the details for your application. And I actually found this to be one of the more tedious parts of the whole process. And what I was doing, like, because you have to fill out different things like privacy settings and all that. And I was just going back to Agent, and I was having Agent guide me through the entire process. Like, okay, what should I put in for this privacy disclosure? There's one instance where I also needed to have a separate page on my website detailing all the privacy disclosures and information. And I just had Agent vibe code that website for me, give me a new URL/privacy terms, and then I used that for the Apple Store Connect submission. So yes, as you like start figuring that part out, like feel free to use Replit Agent to walk you through that process as well. I would start it in a new chat and maybe even go into plan mode so it's not editing anything. But even so, I think Agent should be pretty good about just helping you through that whole process.
Yeah. So correct. And what just happened there, if you saw, I just went to my certificates pane. I revoked a couple of the existing certificates that were not tied to anything. They're just tied to other apps that I've submitted, but they're not actually in use. And then I went back a screen. I went to continue, and then it gave me the option to recreate the certificate. And now I have a proper certificate here. And again, no provisioning profiles, create new profile. Okay. Boom. Okay. We're going to go ahead and continue.
So I guess, Reimar, are we saying that you can only have so many apps in the App Store?
I don't think it's apps. I don't know what the restriction is there, to be honest, because I'm not an expert at this mobile app, like the whole thing. So I don't know what the limitation where it comes. I have to imagine that's not. Like it's like I know people that have multiple apps. There's organizations with lots of them. I don't know. I mean, do they have to come from different developer accounts? That'd be something to look into. Maybe in these review guidelines. So if you've been hanging with us and you're in this shared doc here, if you've seen the show notes, all of these links and resources are here. I'm going to go through a couple things that have been useful for me, but this app distribute here, this app review, distribute Apple developers is this app review guidelines here. This is something that I would bookmark if you're really into this stuff. I'm going to share it in the chat here. Apple Dev Docs. I would look into all of this, right? Because they have information about safety, performance, business, design. These are all kind of requirements and things you should be thinking about. You don't need to read all of this, right? Like there's a lot to read here. But then it just has a lot of good resources for what you should be thinking about, how they're thinking about this when they're reviewing your application, right? These are the things they're thinking about, looking at, etc. And so, as you can see here now, once we publish that button at the end, it's doing its thing in the back end. I'm going to keep an eye. Let me open up my email on the back end here, because I want to see how quickly I get the test flight link. But what we can go back to is now we have this developer, and if I check my account, let's go to the apps. And so now I'm logged in this App Store, Apple Connect, right? So let's go back. When you log into your developer account here, you'll end up on this screen, right? This is all the Apple developer resources. You go to the account tab, and then you'll see that you'll have your Apple developer account. And here's where you have your certificates. Maybe we can look into some of that, where those certificates were, like what the rules are on that. I should do a little bit of research on that. But what you want to do is you want to come over to the app side of things. Let's go back a page. We're unable to process your request. Girl, stop playing. Okay, apps. Tastemakers, there it is. So don't underestimate the amount of things you have to do now, right? So that's kind of it, right? For the Buildathon. You can come over here to Test Flight. You can get your different builds. So I don't have a build yet. And that will come, again, I'll get an email. So I'm hoping, oh gosh, I just saw the email from Apple saying my certificate has been revoked because I just revoked it and I got a little freaked out thinking maybe I screwed something up and Apple pulled the plug. But anyway, that's an expected email. So here's where you're at. iOS app, right? Prepare for submission, version 1.0. I'm not going to add for review because that's not the step we're at now. What I need to do now is go through, and you need to have a screenshot for iPad. You need to disable the iPad functionality in the back end. You need to come up with your promotional text, your description, any keywords you want to add. There's all sorts of different things that you can add here. In the back end, you're going to need the privacy policy. You're going to need a landing page for this. You're going to need screenshots. Right. So in addition to all of the resources here that we have, there's a couple for screenshots. So I found this, obviously there's this App Store screenshot generator. This is pretty standard. This is, easily create snapshots if you want to pay, or if you want kind of some easy tools for doing this. I also found this Figma template that you can click into here that has a bunch of screenshots. I found this super useful. This is what I was kind of playing with on my end here. And so I'm not fully done with my screenshots, but I'm kind of tinkering with how I want to lay these out. And this Figma profile gives me a bunch of different options here.
Those look really nice, dude. Can we zoom in on those?
Yeah.
Those are nice. Because there is definitely like levels to the screenshots that you see on the App Store. And those really pop.
Yeah. And so this is in the, again, if you go to the live build resources, these are all here in the, let's see, back to projects, and we'll share this link again right here. Let me just share this link with all the resources into the chat.
And for me, I just popped into Canva and I just dropped them in there, but
yeah,
there's much nicer.
Sure. I just figured there was some free, and let me actually add that to the, let me add this Figma template right now to the resources here. So I'm just gonna, hang on, I gotta go where I'm logged in here.
One other big point for everybody is that when you build in Replit, your mobile type, it's assumed to be both iPhone and iPad compatible. So you might get to the Apple Store Connect and find that Apple wants you to upload iPad screenshots, which you can do. You can find an iPad emulator and get the screenshots. Or you could do what I did, and I just went back to Replit Agent and had Replit Agent make it iPad compatible false, and then just re-upload and submit to Apple Store Connect. So in case you get to that point where you're like, hey, how do I get iPad screenshots? Those are the two options for you.
Yeah. Share the link for that, please. I'm seeing, let's see, that's an ideal next video for you, Rymar. Chris, tell me more. He's saying something like Rymar loves pictures or something. I don't know where. I hate that I'm not seeing the comments in real time because I feel like I'm missing all the fun. Missing all the fun while I'm teaching up here, you know? I'm usually the kid in the back passing notes like with all the kids in the comments. And now I'm up here in the front of the class, like, you know, I can't be hanging with the kids in the back, you know?
Yeah, I think Chris is here. I think you have your ideal next video. Yeah, I think well, design is a big part of it. As we've been saying, the building part that's getting easier and easier. That's solved. The next thing is how do you get users and design. You know, when a user lands on your Apple Store profile, like they're gonna make like a decision like within a second whether or not they're gonna try out your app. And if that initial presentation isn't great, then you're gonna miss out on those users. So I think there's a lot there's a lot to be done here. And Rymar, like Rymar's got great design taste. Like he's spent time in design school. He's done a lot of design. So I think there'd be a lot that people can learn.
Yeah. Design is how you separate yourself from everybody else when you're dealing with this kind of stuff. Where am I headed to my Figma template here? You know, like, and it's so easy today to like stand out with just take a little bit of extra time, just a little bit of nuance, right? Like just the bar's so low right now, just in general. Like most people just don't read instructions. They don't take an extra minute. They're just speed running life, right? If you take a little bit extra time to finesse your design, to just kind of refine the user experience, to make things like really smooth and seamless, your app will just feel so much better. And that initial impact, that initial like moment is something that's like is super important. And then obviously delivering the value as quickly as possible to the user is also, you know, a big thing that we harp on as you know, like fairly regularly on these streams.
I think there's a good tip that I've taken over from my YouTube creation time, and the tip is, you know, most people will record a video, edit a video, and then do their thumbnail and title last. Really, you should be reversing that. You should start with your thumbnail, your title first, and then do your video. Why? Because if you can spend like 15 hours on a video, but if people don't click on it, then they're never going to see the great work that you're doing. And what happens is that you as a creator, you spend all this time on, you know, on putting together the video, and then you leave yourself 20 minutes to put together a thumbnail and a title, which in fact, that could be one of the most important thing of the whole project. So what you want to do is you actually want to front load that. So Rymar, I wonder if there's like a tip here that like maybe you should start with the design. Maybe you should start with how you're going to present your on the App Store. Maybe you should start with the landing page, because I'm also seeing this as well as people are tagging me on their builds on social. I'm seeing some like really cool builds, but when you see how they're presenting it, the landing page, there's a lot of noise. There's too much going on. It's unclear in terms of, to me, what's the value proposition, why I should try it. And it seems like some people rush that last part of packaging everything up and making it presentable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the whole thing, right? The packaging is everything. If you think about when you walk through a store, what attracts your eye, right? Like you're in a digital store in the App Store. And so that initial screenshot, that initial moment is basically going to be everything. Like most people aren't going to read the description. They're not going to like go to your website. They're not going to dig into the blog you wrote or the 20-minute video you left. Like they're going to see that one screenshot, that title, same thing, thumbnail, etc. So like that packaging, how you wrap up your new creation. Again, nobody will know how cool it is if you don't show them.
I also think it just helps with the, you know, thinking about what is the real value proposition of your app. Because if you have to, I mean, I would almost start with the landing page first. Like, what is the main thing that people are going to try your app for? And then think about like, okay, if that's the main thing that I'm going to be selling, okay, now I know what I have to build in my app. So it almost helps you scope down what to build when you start with that value prop first.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, again, there's a reason most projects start with discovery, design, research, and then development, right? And so we're in this vibe code world where we just want to like go build, and that's cool. But design solves the problem, right? The discovery discovers what the real problem is. Design then organize that, right? So design is like not just how something looks, it's how something works. It's how the experience like feels, right? It's how the product interacts with the user. And then there's got to be, so there's this like discovery, there's this design / research phase. You could blend it. You could do the research before, the research after, whatever. But either way, the design is what's kind of solving the problem. And so if you haven't thought a little bit about how you're solving the problem before you go to build, it's likely why the things you're building are complicated or cluttered or not immediately obvious what they should be doing. It's because you probably haven't solved the problem yet, right? And so thinking about what you want the thing to do, how you want that experience to feel, like that's all what you need to shape before you come into that first prompt, right? When you get to Replit, when you get to this like, let's start building phase, you should kind of already know where you're going, or you should go into the plan phase and bring your design assets with you. I see somebody in here. Let's see, where was it? Somebody said something just now. Can you talk a bit more about how you are leveraging Figma with Replit beyond the App Store screenshots? Yeah, you can copy and paste design assets into the agent. So I do this all the time, mostly with TL Draw here. So if I go into this and I open up like some of my other projects here, let's see what loads. Most of what we'll find in here are different screenshots and things where I do exactly that. Like I'm thinking about different applications, how they work, and I'm thinking about UI. I'm thinking about, you know, just different elements on screen, and I grab these and then I bring them into the agent, right? So as I'm working on stuff, I will literally crop things, clip things. You could do this in Figma. You could do this in TL Draw, any other kind of like whiteboarding tool, infinite canvas type tool, and I use this to pass additional context back into the agent. So I'll grab those screenshots. For instance, if this was something I'm working on, I'll literally just come grab a screenshot. I'll come over here and I'll paste that right into the agent with instructions. And that's how I refine my design. That's how I get very nuanced feedback when I'm looking for, you know, front end changes. And often if I want something that's like a non-traditional UI or something a little less standard, that's how I have to get it, because the agent is going to try to stay inside of these like design frameworks, ShadCN, kind of standard Apple components and elements and like UI elements. And so when you want something a little non-standard, usually going into Figma or going into some kind of whiteboarding tool, wireframing that, explaining what I want, and then pasting that context back into the agent is how I get the best result.
We also have a Figma MCP that allows you to port in Figma assets into your Replit build. I don't think that's available for the mobile app type, but
Correct.
if you're interested in that, please drop it in the comments, because we are thinking about doing some more content around how to leverage Figma and Replit.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of this stuff's getting so good. I'm just checking my email here to see if the test flight link has come in yet. Again, it can take a little bit of time, so that's why you want to get this stuff submitted. I'm hoping we'll get it by the end of the link here, or by the end of the session. But anyway, yeah, that's the last thing I'm going to need to do is go in here and make sure I go through all of the different things that are available inside of the App Store. If you have pricing, you need to set that stuff up. If there's in-app purchases, subscriptions, you need to talk about those all here. There's also things like in-app events you can think about that we haven't talked about and we won't really get into on these. But there's all sorts of different marketing and product pages and things you can do. This is one that I thought was very interesting, is you can have up to 70 different landing pages in the App Store for your app. So let's say you have a bunch of different functionality in your app and you want to package that up so that each of these 70 pages addresses like one specific feature type or one specific kind of user story for your application. This is something that you could do. So you can kind of create multiple versions of your product page in the App Store to do some optimization for how you, like, just like you might do with different landing pages for different user segments in your audience if you're doing digital marketing online. In the App Store, you can kind of do some of the same stuff. And so there's page optimization. There's lots of stuff you can do here that, we won't have time to cover.
That's really cool on the different pages. So then would each page have its separate URL that you would share?
Correct.
So like, oh, gotcha.
Yes.
So if you had an ad,
whole different campaign. Yep. And so users will land, and you could have different screenshots, different app. I think you can even call the app something different description. It's basically like a customized landing page. So you don't just have your, like when you publish and go through this process, you will have your Apple Store listing. That's one. You can then have 70 of those that are totally customized for different audiences, different things. That was something very interesting that I found when I was exploring here that I wanted to shine some light on, because I don't think many people know about that.
That's so cool. I mean, I just think it's so interesting. Like the building part is getting solved, but then you come into like all these new functions that you have to learn, like design, the marketing side, now creating ads. So like I don't, it's one part it gets easier, but now you get to learn all these other things.
Well, and what's interesting to me too is that I've really enjoyed building this, and I am using this app now with some friends. Like I've actually started using this. And I don't know. I've kind of been a web guy for a long time. I've kind of been not anti-app, but apps are very difficult because getting people to download an app from the App Store is kind of like a hard process, right? There's like got to be more functionality to it. And so it's never really made sense to me to spend the money building a mobile app, because the cost to build it far exceeded any kind of upside I would have from usage or distribution, or like the amount of effort that I'd like. The cost to monetize would be so high that if I needed to spend $50,000 or $100,000 to build an app, it just didn't make sense. But now, as I'm playing with this, I'm like, this might make sense to have for a couple hundred users out there, even if they're like premium users or paid users or whatever. But I also think this could spread, because some of the things I'm thinking about inside of here with this like activity, like the next thing I'm playing with this, and we talked about this last week, I just haven't had time to build it, is like staff reviews, maybe adding photos, and like imagine there's like a TikTok feed, but you can only post if you're at the location. So you could see like what people are doing, or video reviews, or just like insiders only. And then you could see like, oh, this person's been here 100 times in the last year. Maybe this person's reviews are more important or more relevant to you than the person who came once and had like a bad experience because the server was having a bad day or the kitchen was out of.
Get Reimar back in here.
So I think there's some fun things to do. Damn it, Restream. How dare you? Don't do this to us.
It's like Russian roulette over here, man. You never know who's going to get it.
What's so funny is like it literally doesn't disconnect us. It just pops the video off the screen. So it's like the most annoying thing. Anyway, so just thinking about going back to, we talked a little bit about like having an obsession or kind of being really focused or interested in something. Like I'm genuinely interested in exploring new places and having like, as I travel, a thing to like take notes of a place. And then again, maybe this becomes some like social discovery thing where you can find people as you explore a new town that's like, oh man, he's been in Chicago and he's been eating poke bowls and he's been like reviewing all the best poke bowl spots in Chicago. I'm going to follow his page because I'm traveling to Chicago and I love poke bowl, right? So that's where I think this app could evolve. And I'm probably going to keep tinkering with it, assuming that I don't get another $300 bill from Google API after the stream.
So here's a question. There's a couple of good questions. How would you monetize something like this, right?
Ads, baby.
Oh, for the
every third
restaurants.
swipe, every fifth swipe. If you're in my location, I'm going to show you like the deal of the night. I'm going to show you like the restaurant you need to check out. What's the first restaurant that shows up when you load into a new place?
Promoted.
Yeah, maybe premium. Maybe if you want to like rank your bartenders or something like that, you got to like pay a little bit. I don't know. Maybe the restaurant wants to pay to like manage the staff or the staff profiles or something. So like, I don't know. There's lots of ideas I've had about how I would monetize it, which needs to be the next step because the Google Places API is not free. So that will be my next step is once I kind of get this thing functional, how I like it, maybe get 10 or 15 people playing with it, figure out like where the money might come from on something like this.
Man, I love this. I mean, I think to me, this is, you get puzzles on top of puzzles, right? The puzzle, what are you going to build? Then how are you going to market it? And then now how would you monetize it? Which is a whole like separate thing. And like, how would you try? Like, is it going to be the restaurants? Like, this is why for me, this like is so like fascinating because there's so much stuff to figure out.
Well, that's what I think would be like very interesting about these streams over the long term. Francisco, if you're watching, Michele, if you're watching, I think it'd be super cool to like start taking some of these and not just fire off like an app that we do one time and then forget about it, but like the chat capture app and some of these like other tools that we're building. And maybe over time, they evolve into products, like real products, and we take real user feedback. We start trying to monetize them as a group. Maybe there's a public leaderboard for how much revenue is being generated from some of the apps we build. Maybe the community can upload their apps into this game, and we start building like a mechanism of how do we like showcase that, hey, this isn't just for building toys, right? Like if you want to build toys and vibe code prototypes, like go play with other software. If you want to build real working production applications and start making money, you come here. And part of what we could do on these streams is showcase not just like the build process with the agent, but how do you do these other things? How do we get distribution? How do we get monetization strategies? And like sometimes it's very difficult to like see an app evolve over an hour, week to week. But 6 months from now, if we came in and we had done 2 or 3 episodes on like, hey, let's go back to the Buildathon mobile update and see where we're at. Oh, hey, we have 5,000 users and there's this much revenue if we made this much API calls and blah, blah, blah. That would be very cool to see over time. And I think there's going to be this library of tools that we build as we do this stuff that would just be very cool. And it would be very unique. Like not many other companies could do this where there's this like blended Y Combinator / product hunt / like real community package, like thing that could do. So like if I have my way, that's where this stuff will head. But anyway, if you're watching, let us know what you think about that stuff or if you'd like to see those things evolve over time.
I love that idea because I'm seeing on X and on LinkedIn, people are already making money with their apps, but I don't think there's one central repository to track that. So it'd be great. The leaderboard would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think it would also be great for our community. Like, hey, these are like the top grossing apps that are built on Replit. Go and support them. Go and check them out. Go and use them. Go and like help get the word on those apps. You get your app on there too, so we can all support you too. And that'd be really neat.
That's what I mean. I think it's not just us. It's like, let's pull other people in. And then there is no, hey, I'm just going to fake my way into this community. You like literally have to build your way into this community. And as you build stuff and as you show things and as your product evolves and as your revenue steps up and like you start getting different access and like, then it could be a thing where we start inviting the top app makers and you start building this community of folks that are just building real production grade software. And I think again, 6 months or a year into something like that, you could have the next Y Combinator type thing, the next product hunt type thing where we're just launching products out of this. And again, talk about marketing, like dog fooding your marketing. That would be like such a beautiful product. Like that would be just an amazing thing to see and help pull together. Let's see. Love to see how to get monetization via ads. Yeah, for sure. I think that's the way. Like finding and exploring different tools or ways or mechanisms for what we can do, with this content. Because I think like if y'all are going to show up live, right? If we're going to be here live, we were just looking at some of the stats. And the amount of time that people are spending watching these videos is like amazing. Office hours, live streams, deep dives, whatever, like these live streams, it's super cool to see folks kind of coming and hanging out with us and like the amount of time you all are spending on like your side of the screen. And so in my mind, we're thinking if you're going to show up, how do we make this most bang for the buck for the folks that are with us live? Obviously, we want to make it as entertaining as possible for people who watch this later on. But what we're seeing is that a couple of days after the stream, most of the attention's moved on with the way the algorithms work or whatever. The main value is like the folks that are here the day of and kind of engaging with the video within like 24, 48 hours of it's being published. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about is how do you make that experience more fun, more interactive, more dynamic for the viewer, and kind of incentivize folks to just actually be here with us in this moment to experience the real aspects of building with the agent, troubleshooting, thinking through things. And so that's part of what we're trying to experiment with here with these streams. And so if you have thoughts of how to improve this or any ideas for what you'd like to see, leave it in the comments. If you don't know, we have this chat scrape tool, which we've talked about a number of times here, but all of your messages come in real time into the back end here. So even though we don't respond to everything, we do see it. We understand it. This creates beautiful reports that then give us insights into what people are asking for the product and complaining about and future content that we might be able to do. And so, again, we're trying to listen and build everything we do around feedback from you all. So.
Quick shout out to Angelina here. How's it going? Number one, Angelina saying that she loves the Figma template, Rymar. Number two, Angelina, I just saw you post on LinkedIn about your app. Awesome, really cool. And again, I'm encouraging everybody to do that. Like you got to share what you're building, even if it's not done. Like Angelina was posting, like I think her idea, what she was doing. I got on here. I boosted her post. And then like once you finally get something, like definitely post it on X, LinkedIn, and tag us. for us to see. So just wanted to say hi to Angelina.
Yeah, what's up? And that's what we want. Yeah, like it's been fun connecting with the folks. So again, tomorrow, if you're in the Buildathon, tomorrow is going to be our last live hangout. We had a bunch of people hanging with us last week, and I think we went through like 20, 30 apps. Honestly, it was like 2 hours long. It took us a long time. I don't know that we'll go through as many tomorrow, but maybe we'll go through more. I don't know how it's going to play out. Depends on who shows up and how cool the apps are, how much time we spend with them. But one thing we didn't do last time was put a clock on it. This time we'll probably put a clock on each session because some of them went a little longer than the others. Anyway, tomorrow we've got another cool hangout session. This is your last chance to get feedback from us, troubleshoot things live. We'll be in Discord kind of going through the different submissions and doing design reviews, little critiques, optimizations, things that you might do to kind of like put that little polish on your app before you submit it. And when's our office hours this week, Manny? Is that Thursday or Friday?
That is on Friday. So what we've been doing there is we've been trying to feature a builder from the community. 2 weeks ago, we had Ad Kempt, who put together a really cool app. He thought he had 3 days to complete the Buildathon, and he put something out around like speed reading different news articles. Got Amjad, our CEO, to retweet it, and like it was a really cool. So I had him on the show, and then last week we had Adquina Fain, who built a really interesting app around helping people forage for edible foods out there. And again, like a good example of like a very niche problem, niche community that she's passionate about, very interested in, and she built an app on her commute to work. Like she's building on the mobile app and just built something amazing. And so looking for folks to feature this coming Fridays. Ping me on Discord, ping me on LinkedIn, X. That's why I want to see your post. And then also I think we might have somebody from either within Replit to talk to us about what's happening on the mobile side. We have some cool things that are cooking. We had a new update last week that people were really interested in around better design and better previews in Replit. And then also, like, if there's somebody out there that you think is really good at this post build skill set of marketing, content, design, someone that you'd like me to have on the show, even if they're not building Replit, even if they're not associated with Replit, please let me know. Send me a DM or tag me on X or LinkedIn, and I'll try to get them on the show for all of you to help kind of level us up in that respect too.
Yeah. And I think that's part of what we should also like. I think going back to some of the stuff we were just talking about with like community showcasing apps, launch, blah blah. Like doing more of that. Like we want to find the best builders, the people that are building the most interesting things. Like we want to connect with you. So go find us on LinkedIn, go find us on X. Don't start spamming our stuff. That's a quick way to get blocked. But if you have value, if you're doing something cool in the community, if you're like want to share something that you've really poured your heart into, like let us know. We really want to try to find ways to showcase the power of Replit. And a lot of times that is done through showing what people are building, right? And so if you want to like find a way, this is how I'm here, by the way. I am on these streams because a year ago I started playing with the agent, became totally obsessed, started building like crazy things beyond what I ever thought I would be building as like a non-developer. And some of that stuff found its way into the feeds of folks high in the leadership at Replit. And that started becoming a conversation about doing some of this stuff. And so you never know who's watching. You never know what you can get done by putting your passion into one of these products and just building something cool. And so that's, what I would encourage folks to do is like, if you're out there, the best thing you can do to get on our radar is build something cool and share it with us.
Same here, Raimar. That's how I got on Amjad's radar and Matt's radar too. I was just building interesting things that I thought were kind of cool with Replit because I thought Replit was a great product, and I just recorded myself doing it and I posted it on X and LinkedIn. Yeah. I almost didn't tag Replit or Amjad on some of those tweets, but one of them got picked up by Amjad. He he retweeted it, and I'm like, oh, it's cool, man. So yes, again, like, even if you think what you're doing isn't that interesting or that cool, you don't know. You just don't know. Just record it and share it with folks. So if one person gets value from your video, that's winning. And also the process of recording these things and sharing with folks, that's also very beneficial to you, because there's been often times when I go to share something with someone and I'm like, oh, I got to think about this a little bit more clearly, or how can I explain this? It helps refine your thinking about what you're building and what value you see in the things that you're vibe coding. So yeah, just go out and share with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's we get so wrapped up in this day and age when you know, you see like, oh, I didn't, you know, I only got X number of views, or I didn't go, you know, I don't have hundreds of thousands of views. I only have hundreds of views. And it's like, you know, that's okay. I tell you what, like when I first started doing any of this stuff, when I first started tinkering, getting into like the Webflow world and the web design world, and this is like years ago, back in like 2018, 2019, 17, 18, 19, whatever. Because I wasn't really doing a lot of that stuff publicly in the early WordPress days, because you know, social wasn't around. It just wasn't that big a thing. But like even back then, I was publishing videos and showcasing my knowledge. I was doing local meetups. And then when I got into like doing more like web development stuff, I just started publishing these videos. And some of the videos that ended up getting me my biggest customers when I was doing freelance and agency work were some of the lowest viewed videos. Like it wasn't that the video went viral. It's the video showed something that the person who was looking for was like, oh, this person can do this for me, right? Like they're showing me they have the skill set. It's the best way to interview. It's the best way to show off a skill. Like it doesn't need to be viral, right? It just needs to be in front of the right person. And so this is the thing that like matters so much, that like, in addition to being a builder, you have to learn how to like package yourself up. We talked a little bit about packaging your app. Now you have to learn how to package yourself up and your services and your things you want to do, so you can get in front of customers and learn how to sell this stuff, and like learn how to like maybe land your next customer. And that doesn't have to be you know, viral videos. You don't have to be the next levels, you know, IO to make money doing this stuff. You just have to kind of be consistent, competent, and, you know, like put a little bit of unique touch on it. Put a little something on it that makes me know that you understand what you're doing and that you've got your heart into this, and that will take you so far. Like you have no idea how far that will take you, rather than just going through the motions.
100%. Angelina here joining the chat, coming back. Thanks for the shout out. Thank you, Angelina, for posting of what you're building. I can't wait to see the final app.
How can we present our personal private projects that we've been working on? The whole internet's out here waiting to see it, y'all. You just have to put it on the internet. There's X, there's Instagram, there's YouTube, there's all sorts of places. Don't come spamming our DMs with this stuff. Once you get it out there, then share the link to your YouTube or share the link to whatever. But like, don't come and be like, here's a screenshot of this thing or some obscure whatever. Like we get lots of those. What you want to do is try to like go find a way to spark some conversation, make a cool post on LinkedIn, and then share that with folks, right? Share that with us or share that with whoever. There's the Discord, there's Discourse, there's, you know, like there's different places where you can go to find and get in front of people in the community. There's not a clear path, right? The path may be different for different people.
A couple thoughts here. Number one, you can go the story route. Like if you go on LinkedIn and you see at Queena's post, it was like the story about the frustration that she's had with this app not existing and she wanting to build it, and then now part of the Buildathon she got to build it. The story there, you know, there's a lot there. It doesn't have to be a fancy app, but people really like that story. The second angle you can take is by like identifying the pain point that you're solving for and saying like, here's the pain point that I see, here's my app. And then you don't even have to share it. You could do a video. In fact, I would say like doing a video and a walkthrough of what you're building, that's almost more important than a link to a project, because that's what's going to get the most amount of views. And then if people really actually want to check it out, they'll tell you in the comments. Then you know you have to make it public or upgrade your Replit account, what have you. The third angle that you could take, Marith, is talking about the technical aspect of what you built. Ruth just had a great post. She shared this really awesome app where it has like VR and it's ghost hunting. So like you put up your phone and you see different ghosts pop up. It's kind of like Ghostbusters kind of thing. I'm going to try it out. My boys are going to absolutely love that app. And she posted about it, and she has great design. So the visuals are great. But she also put together a blog post on X talking about the technical challenges that she had, like what she couldn't initially do in Replit, how she worked around it, how she solved it. And I thought that was really interesting. So those three angles you can kind of approach. Again, the story, the pain point that you're targeting, and also like the technical hurdles that you have to overcome to build something.
Yeah. Hey, let's just jump back over here for half a second.
Hey, what we have here?
Because we got our test flight email. So this is what I meant about how quickly it can happen. You know, we just submitted this today. And what are we at? 1:30? I got the email. So I think it was like 123, 120. I don't know. It took 8-10 minutes for this to come in, 15 minutes for this to come in. We kind of missed it because we were just yapping a little bit there about different things. But now it's in here, right? So now I can see that I have 1.0.1 here. I have this build. I have, groups that I can create. I have my individual testers that I can add individually here. I can, turn this build off. Again, I'm still in my Apple Store Connect. So if I go back into my Apple Store Connect, I just went into my apps here. I'm in my Tastemakers app, and then you can see I have my distribution stuff, which I need to still fill out. And then the test flight details are right here, which is where we're going. You can come in external testing. Create this. There you go. Add builds. I'm going to pick this build. Next. Again, you got to fill in the test information here. So if you're going to get folks testing, if you're going to send this around, there's like just other steps that you need to figure out inside of here and make sure it's set up properly so that we can test, so that your friends can test. Before you get this thing into the App Store, you should go through extensive testing in Test Flight, because this is like a real Apple build environment. This is where you can test all of your subscriptions, all of your payments, all of your notifications. This is kind of like where you should go through extensive testing. And then from here, once that's all said and done, you can submit the build for full distribution and send that in to get published properly in the App Store here. And that's what we're looking for, is this test flight link, is this public test flight link. So you're going to need to come through that process. And again, go to where's the mobile Buildathon, and you'll log into your portal here, and that's where you'll submit that. So between videos 1, 2, and 3, we have walked you through everything now that you would need to do to build and participate in this mobile Buildathon, all the way from thinking of an idea to building, refining, and now publishing the application. As you can see, the app's not, the be-all, end-all that we wanted. We didn't get all the features that we thought we'd build into this thing, but we got pretty far, and we have a lot of really cool functionality here that I think is fun to play with and could be interesting to explore in a number of different ways that I will keep tinkering with as I go. Let's actually look. I can check in here. Actually, I didn't share that you can check in based on location. I would not be able to check in at this place because of the distance. So if I clicked on the wrong one, but let's click on something over here. So it will determine my distance. So again, we're using some interesting functionality in the phone. We're using the native maps. We got swipe features and functionality here. We've got the ability to add favorites and move their different state, open them up and see kind of how we can interact with them. So we've done quite a bit, inside of this app in the last 3 weeks, and we're super excited to see what you all build as we go here. So front to back, Manny, I think that's the whole process, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously there's the review process now going back and forth, but that's between you and Apple. It's very difficult for us to kind of interject at that point because there's a million things that could be happening there, which is why we didn't say, hey, this needs to be published in the App Store. It just needs to be submitted and ready for testing and review like this.
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I went through that, it was pretty tedious, but I watched a couple of YouTube videos on it. I was working with agent and just getting my the responses that I was putting into that Apple review submission, and I got rejected like 3 times. So if you get rejected, no problem, especially if it's your first one. The Apple reviewers I thought actually were pretty nice and pretty helpful. Like they gave me good tips, like, oh, you got rejected because of this, you got to do this. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So it was a better experience than I had thought. I do want to call this out. Folks have been saying like, hey, how do I get help? How do I get one-on-one help? So we are partnered with Contra. This is a sort of a marketplace of different builders. You can go on here and find different Replit builders that you can hire to come onto your projects and help you out. I like this for a couple of reasons. One, like I would say, like definitely get as far as you can on your own. But if you feel like you're getting stuck, you can always go to support, or you can work with somebody on Contra, bring them on. And one of the cool things about Replit is how easy it makes it to collaborate. This is one of the killer features that people just underappreciate. The fact that you could just share a link to your project to a contractor, to somebody else, and then come in and see exactly what you're seeing and help you side buy side. The other reason I like this is like for, if you're building something that's somewhat new to you and you want somebody to kind of just give you like a code review or like a best practices review, like maybe like check out security or like just someone like to give you like some peace of mind on something, you can probably find somebody that's cool here. And I'm sure we also have folks in the comments here that have been very helpful that you might also want to work with as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I think the Discord has been so good for the builder community, because a bunch of folks in there are just kind of connecting and doing their own thing. They're testing each other's apps. They're installing each other's apps. Somebody asked here, let's see, Sweet, ready for testing. Do you have a group of friends you like giving early access to? I have a small group of people that like I bombard with stuff like this all the time, but they also bombard me with stuff because we're all builders. And so it's like, hey, check this out. I'm building this thing. Look at this. Like, here's what I'm cooking this week or whatever. And so like we will share stuff back and forth. I would encourage you all to start building your own little group like that. Whether that's through our official community channels or in your local neighborhood or through some other group that you build, like you should have a little network of folks that are like people that you're building with or excited about building, that when you do something cool like this, you can geek out and be like, oh my God, check out the new feature or whatever. And it's also cool because like, let's say they test your app day one, and then a week or two later, you send it back and be like, hey, check this out. I updated so-and-so, or I took your feedback and added this feature. Now I'm going to be more inclined to like test your app again because I'm like, oh, hey, I know what I'm doing with this app already. I had an initial experience with it. And then like now my feedback is more useful to you because you're listening to how I'm using the app. And now like that's how you really get like a good iterative cycle on your product development. And so that's something that I think, just get in the habit of trying to find a handful of folks. X can be good for this. Lots of different, builder communities exist out there. And then the Discord, obviously, the Replit official channels are a great place to meet folks that are doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, Angelina has another good comment here. Like, even if you're not ready to show the full app, just go out and talk about it. That's what Angelina did. She didn't show me the full app. She said, like, here, I'm building this feature. And she's just chatting about it. And you'll see people kind of jump on that thread. You'll start connecting with them. And pretty soon you're going to develop a cohort of folks that you can work with.
Yeah. Yep. See here. What is the Discord? To get the Discord link, you got to register for the Buildathon. And that's where you'll get the link for the Discord. That's not just being sent out to everyone. So just a heads up. Can you guys tell us about any progress on the Android Play Store integration and maybe a Buildathon? I would go back to, Manny, what was that? A week and a half ago with Vic, where we did the office hours, and she shared a little bit about their direction with that. Go ahead.
Working really hard right now. TBD on a time, a proper timeline, but just know like it's a high priority for us. So thanks for your patience on that.
Yeah.
But and then in terms of like doing another buildathon, I think that would be cool too, because we're also working on the payments integration side as well. So like, we've been talking about how do you monetize things? Well, there are different things that we're putting in place to make that easy for you as well. And so it might be worthwhile to do another buildathon, both App Store and Play Store. And like maybe like the threshold is you have to have a certain amount of users, or like have earned a certain amount of revenue on the app. We can play around with it, but that's a cool idea.
It could be interesting to have different tiers too. I could see also like a continuation-a-thon. I don't know what that would look like, but it's like must have participated in the first one to like participate in the next one. And then it's like most improved, or, like app that went from X to Y, or the most revenue, or the most users, or whatever, right? Like some kind of real world metric that's like, hey, this person has invested significant amount of time in going through this next step kind of thing.
Thank you, Twisted Tequila Tastings. Yeah, man. Listen, this is new for everybody, and I think it's easy to get a little bit down as you're building. You hit a bug, you have to learn new things, but you just have to remember that it is just an amazing time to be alive. If you have an idea, the ability for you to actually sit somewhere and hack on something and bring that idea to life. Man, like folks are talking about not being able to do this before. Go catch the interview with that Queena on Friday, talking about spending $150,000 on building an app, having to go find a technical co-founder, or having to pay some overseas developers like $5,000 a month to do this, waking up at crazy hours just to get your idea in the world. So just, I know it's hard. I know it's tough because you're going to learn new things, but just appreciate that, man, like what a time to be alive. What a time to be a builder and actually getting to work on these things on your own and learn these cool things. And like I think, we're all on this boat together. That's why we have this community. Jump on that Discord, connect with other folks, and just kind of like build that community around you to help you stay through those lows and get to those highs.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is for sure. So I missed the Buildathon. No, you did not miss it. You still got a week. This
Plenty
Friday.
of time.
Got time. You got time to build that app. What is it saying? Somebody here, I've completely stalled, ran out of time to get over the line with publishing. Nah, you got time. Come on. You got to the end of the week, right? So there's still time to get those submissions. You still time to go to the mobile-buildathon.replit.app. It was scrolling across the screen here. Manny will throw it back up here in a second. And yeah, there's still time. There's no time. And again, even if you don't get it in for the Buildathon, you should just do this for you. If you've been thinking about an app, if this is something you've been tinkering with, this is something you've been like excited to just try out, it's been so cool to unlock this side of my builder superpower, right? I've had ideas for apps before. This app kind of came to me in a Replit at our go-to-market week. Remember, Manny? Like literally just some casual thing that I was like, probably should have been listening more closely to who was speaking, but I was like into the agent. I was like, oh my God, let me see what I can build here, you know? And then next thing you know, I got this like cool little swipe gesture thing. And I'm like, I guess I'm gonna have to tinker with this thing. And that was like literally coming into planning for this session. And so that's where we got like tinkering with this app. So you never know where this is going to go, and you just start building and exploring things and then playing with it, using it in the real world, showing it to friends, seeing what they think, iterating on that. Like, you know, some of the best ideas never come, like they're evolved into, right? Like you think the idea you have is like this brilliant idea, but that's just like the beginning of the idea. When you put that into practice and you go out into the real world and start like running up against obstacles and you know, like objections from like the real world, that's when the idea becomes tangible. That's when you start understanding like, oh, this on paper looks good, but in the real world has to work like this. Let me pivot this way. Oh, this person over here said they wanted this, but when they used it, they really wanted this. Let me change the way this thing works and make it actually useful. And that's how the idea evolves from something like that you think is good to something that the market validates as good, right? And that's the process that we're trying to take you through here. And there's just like, that's this cool puzzle that is just continually being solved. As a builder, that's the piece of the brain that's always being kind of stimulated and challenged. And I think that's the exciting part here. So anyway, you still got time. Buildathon ends this week. So yeah, get those submissions in. All right, let's see.
Chris saying he's excited to see all the apps. Yeah, we've been seeing some really cool apps come through.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's and I'm sure there's stuff that like right now what we're seeing are the folks that are kind of active and, you know, a little loud. What we're going to see, I'm sure, is that there's some real banger apps in there that like haven't even like we just not even on our radar yet. So if you think you've seen, like we haven't seen anything. Actually, I'm still not sure how we're going to review all these. There's literally going to be way too many to like.
And it's stuff that I would have never thought of. You know, like somebody once said, like, you know, smart is like you see the potential solution, how it might come about. Genius is like you don't see it; it just comes out of nowhere, and like someone solves it in a way that you don't never had anticipated. And some of the apps that I'm seeing, I'm like, oh, I would have never thought about it. That's great. Somebody's building a translator app for negotiating stuff in West Africa. Ruth had this really cool like VR ghost hunter type of app. It looks really great. I'm like, oh, that's a really neat thing. So I'm just getting excited about like all the different use cases here, and I'm getting a bunch of ideas of what I want to build next.
That's right. Wait till you see mine. There we go. Let's see it.
Let's go, Sonny. Sonny, share it, tag us on LinkedIn and X, man. You got to share it.
I don't have a link for tomorrow. Nobody has a link for tomorrow unless you're in the Discord. And then on the left-hand side of the where the channels are, there's an event at the top. And so we'll just be on the main stage tomorrow in Discord. There's no link. We're just in there hanging out live. So you got to be in the Discord, which again, you need to sign up at the Mobile Buildathon to get access to.
And Joy had a question earlier, Raimar, around whether or not the Discord sessions are being recorded.
No.
Okay. So
no, the Discord sessions, yeah, it must be present to win.
Gotta be there live.
Yeah, we are running a transcript on them, and I am recording on the back end, but they're not going to be published ever. They're not like published out. They're just for us to learn and to kind of self-analyze, and then if something super cool happens in there, to maybe cut a clip or something from that. But no, they're intended to be just kind of ethereal feedback, hangout moments. They're not for posterity.
Yeah,
Okay.
Captain Pure Blood. I mean, I just say like, like just focus on like the most compelling part of your app and just like zero in on that and just get it over the deadline. Reimar's been talking about that. Like there's a tendency for us to spend too much time in build mode. And we got to switch over to marketing and selling mode because there's a lot I'm sure you can do on the design front, on the marketing front. Like if you build something that's like okay, but you have like 10 paying customers, like that is like amazing. So I would say, you know, don't I mean maybe like just think about what is the most compelling part of your app and just go out and try to market it and try to get customers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's money talks, right? Like that's the real win, right? Um Having an idea, having distribution, having whatever, but like paying customers is where it's at. Um let's see. All right, apps don't need to be a million features. Yeah, that's right. Is it possible to copy all the conversations with agent while designing and creating the app and make a summary, for example, with Notebook LM or so? Um, there's nothing native like that. There's nothing stopping you from kind of copying all that text out of there and doing something with it. I'm not sure, you know, that'd be super riveting listening to the agent playback as a podcast, but somebody might be interested in that.
What time is your stream tomorrow, Reimar?
We're hanging out at noon
Okay,
Eastern
cool.
time. So 12 Eastern tomorrow in the Discord.
Yes, Chris, Vibe marketing. So we're doing Vibe coding. We have to do Vibe marketing. We have to do Vibe selling. And this is kind of I think where we are right now is like I had this post recently on LinkedIn that got a lot of traction around AI collapsing a lot of roles into one. And the context here was around data science and data analytics. I'd say like you need a data engineer, a data analyst, a data scientist, and then you need a database engineer. You'd have four different roles, but now with vibe coding, you have one role. And I think the corollary to this here is that previously you needed a product manager, a designer, and a coder and a marketer, and now that's just you with Replit. And so you need four roles that you need to fill, and I think in order to be successful here and to do this well. And so Chris, I think this is a good call out. I think there's vibe marketing, there's vibe design, and then there's what was the other one that I mentioned? Vibe product management, I guess. Like I guess figuring out what you should build and for who, I think is also a real skill as well. So all of that is now you and stuff that we all have to learn, which is to me is pretty intellectually stimulating.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's so many parts of this. And this is why, people talk about it's replacing jobs. Like, no, it's just the shifts. There's going to be shifts of where the jobs are and who's doing what and what jobs look like. There's so many layers to specialize in all these places, and there's so many things to be done inside of here that I think, smaller teams for sure, people doing bigger things with less resources for sure. But I think this is, like there's so much opportunity and so many things to do to create value in the market that are just untapped. And there's so many people out there like just, looking for solutions to problems that they have that are not technical, that there's so much for you all to go build and for us to just take to the next level here.
Ruth here, that husband and son sick at home, and instead of watching binging on shows, they vibe code an app together.
Let's
That's
go.
really I think for Christmas, you should be giving a trial to Replit for everybody in your family, including the young ones. I just saw Mark Andreessen on a podcast recently. He's the founder of A16Z. And he's saying like his like 10-year-old is obsessed with Replit. So I think like for Christmas, like in the stockings, like Replit trials for everybody. And we also have a freemium version now, I guess. So like you can send them there as well. But that's really cool. That's nice to hear, Ruth. I hope they're feeling better now, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We're here at the 2 hour mark. This is probably a good jump off point. I think we've answered most of the Buildathon and related questions here. So yeah. Manny, any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, no, thank you, Reimer, for taking us through all of the steps. And as what we love, I mean, what I like about this is seeing like the struggle and all the hiccups and things that can go wrong. And I think that's everybody's experience here as well. And I think, what Rymar is showing you is just like what you have to do to get yourself unstuck and just kind of keep moving forward. So we hope that you're appreciating this. And I just appreciate seeing everybody's comments here. I think we're building a really great community, and thank you to Rymar for like doing such a great work on Discord. We've seen a lot of great feedback there as well. And thank you to all of you that continually show up to the stream and help each other out. I see Chris providing some great context, and answering some questions here. KG, as always, respond to people. And I just, big thank you to all of you. Like, we love seeing that, and just, makes it so much easier for us to show up and like, do these streams. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's been a learning experience for all of us. And I think that's what's going to be fun about these streams as we move forward, is that the product's moving so fast, the industry is moving so fast, that this is going to be the front line for us to experiment and explore and really push the boundaries of what's possible with all these tools. And so I think there's the fun of it, of like, sometimes we'll succeed, sometimes we'll fail. I just want to point out that we're still undefeated building, right? Sometimes we get defeated by the live streaming technology, or sometimes the Murphy's laws of live production gods strike and pop us off the stream or something. However, we have been very successful in building all the things we set out to build. And so that's maybe a goal for us, is to like, what's the ceiling here, right? Where can we push this thing, and how far can we push these builds? So again, thank you all for hanging with us and experimenting alongside of us. Thanks for participating in the Buildathon. Guys, I see lots of questions coming in that have been answered like 1,000 times. So sorry if we're not answering your questions. Like, just go back and watch the other videos, or actually go read the mobile like Buildathon site. All of your questions are answered there. Literally, you guys are asking questions that have been answered a million times. So sorry if we're not getting to all of them, but they're, rewind the tape. And yeah, come hang out with us tomorrow in Discord, Friday for our final office hours. Super excited to spend probably an insane amount of time reviewing mobile apps over the next couple of weeks. And yeah, this has been a lot of fun. So thanks everyone again for hanging with us, for taking your time out of your day to share your thoughts and feedback with us, and for making this Replit community super special. So happy building, excited to see where this all goes next, and we'll catch you on the